Greetings. Greetings. Hello there. Hello, everyone. Greetings and welcome to Conversation with Tony Mobley. Tonight is a special night. We have another educational panel, and I'm excited to share with you who we have on our panel this evening. We have Dr. Sarah Deering, Miss Carissa Worthy, Miss Chantel Jackson, and Rabbi David Paskin. Today is August the 13th, 2025, and this is episode 31 of 2025 of Conversations with Tony Mobley. We are powered by Mimo Live. I want to thank the team behind Conversation with Tony Mobley. You can watch Conversation with Tony Mobley on our YouTube channel, Conversation with Tony Mobley on YouTube, as well as our website, conversationswithTonyMobley.com. We are excited to have this panel with us today, and we want you to feel free to put your questions in the YouTube chat, and we are going to get started with our very first question, which is, who are you? And so we're going to start with our panelists, and we're just going to ask them to raise their hand and indicate when they want to tell us who they are. So who's the first person to share with us? Okay, so we have Rabbi David Paskin going first. Hello, sir.
Hi there. I'm happy to go first. Was that my phone ringing? I hope not. Hi everyone. Good to see you. I'm David Paskin. I am a rabbi in Miami, Florida. I focus mostly on education, so I run an early education center, an elementary program, an after-school program, a high school program, and a whole bunch of other stuff too. And I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you, sir, for being here. Next, Dr. Deering.
Good evening, everyone. Such a pleasure to be here this evening. I am calling in from Baltimore, Maryland. So a little rainy today this evening, but I have had the pleasure of being working in education for the last 20 years for Baltimore City Public Schools. And as of recently, back in April, I decided to become an entrepreneur and really support the relocation of international workers to the United States, specifically teachers right now, and providing them with professional development. But I'm also stretching my wings and doing a little consulting around social capital, which is really important right now, social capital literacy, and looking to get into the supporting students with autism.
Fantastic. All right. Miss Chantel.
Greetings, everyone. I am calling in from Georgia by way of South Carolina. I'm a special education teacher, have been for 18 years, and I also moonlight creating my foundation for retirement through real estate in both South Carolina and Georgia as well. Special ed has been my lane for almost 18 years. Matter of fact, this is start of year 18 for me. Both Georgia Public School and South Carolina.
Fantastic. All right. And Miss Carissa Worthy.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carissa Worthy. I'm in the Atlanta area. I currently am working in Fulton County schools. This is my 17th year in education. I've been a teacher in the classroom for 10 years, math instructional coach for 4, and now I'm currently in the position of an assessment program specialist supporting zone. We have 7 zones in Fulton County, so I support zone 3, K through 12.
Thank you all so much for being here. And we're going to get into the questions. And I want to say to my audience, please feel free to put your questions in the YouTube chat. This is going to be a conversation. And if you don't ask your questions, we'll just talk among ourselves and, we'll have a good time just talking among ourselves. So this is a great opportunity to ask these educators, you've heard how long they have been in education. They have a wealth of knowledge. And based on the things that are currently going on in the world, you don't want to miss this opportunity to ask these great educators questions that might help you navigate this time frame in which we live. And so we're going to go to a question. The question is, how did your community support who you are growing up? How did your community support you? And I don't see any hands raised. All right, Rabbi David.
I, um, I can answer the question. It's not. I'm not sure that it's as much about education as it is it about other things. I grew up in quite an abusive home, and to escape that, I instead of turning to drugs or something like that, I went to temple because I'm a geek like that, and my temple kind of saved me without knowing it. I mean, I never talked about it with them, but just being there, supporting me, uh, creating a home away from home is what it did for me. And I don't work in the inner cities of Baltimore or Chicago, but I imagine that for some kids, school can be that home away from home, that safe place that they may not have in their own lives.
Thank you for sharing that. Chantel.
And I'm a little opposite of Rabbi David. I grew up in a nuclear home, both mom and dad in the home. So as far as home is concerned, education was supported. What I found when I left home was I was pushed to try some different things, to push myself to another limit. Let's You can read, write, arithmetic. What about how can you read, write, arithmetic, and dance? How do you put that artistic spin on education as well as continuing to have that foundational education? And I think that for me, it's been one of those things that translates into my classroom where I make the special education setting and I think outside of the box and make sure that I reach the kids exactly where they are. Same thing when I train teachers. I train teachers. Let's reach into our inner person of our youth. What was fun for us when we were growing up. Now let's bring it into the 21st century now, and teach those 21st century kiddos, whatever the standards are, but we can flip them around and make them fun.
Fantastic. Okay.
Oh, can I add something?
Yes.
Um, I think when you say community, for me, my community would have been my family. I think education is something that I knew that I wanted to do at a young age. So they provided that opportunity and space for me to, I guess, start practicing my craft at a young age. So a space in the house, like set up as my classroom. So my family, I think that part of my community provided me that space for me to work on my craft before actually even getting to the point of getting into education.
And for those who don't know, Carissa's actually my niece, and my sons were her first pupils in her classroom. My mother-in-law had a little setup where they had their own little chairs and table, and she would instruct them. And I don't remember how old she was when she started teaching, but my sons were old enough that they could sit in the little chairs as she would give them instruction. And so that was a part of her community experience as far as education is concerned. And Dr. Deering, you have your hand up again.
No, it's funny that the experiences of growing up in community really drive us as educators in our adult life. I know that, having been an adoptee, and being the only Asian in my community growing up, I certainly was trying to find identification, just like who am I? Like, where do I belong? And a lot of rebellion a lot of rebellion during my teenage years. And I think that, you bring these experiences to the classroom in terms of, understanding kids, and where their struggles might be and making them feel welcome and accepted and unique and have identity as well. So, yeah, great to hear stories.
Okay. Does anybody else have any more comments on this before we move on to the next area? Okay. Um, what advice do you have for parents whose children are starting a new school year? Anybody? And I want to let our audience know that this is a new, they're used to me calling on them. They're used to me calling on them. And so I am trying something a little bit different tonight. I'm trying to give them an opportunity to raise their hands when they are ready to speak. And so this is, Conversation with Tony Mobley is a live lab. It has always been that. And so we continue to work this lab. And Chantel, you have your hand up?
Yes, I think that I would advise parents to extend grace and mercy. And let's say for our students and our teachers alike. Our administrators, our custodians, our lunch staff, everybody, grace and mercy. These school years have been coming fast and furious. And if you guys are like us, we are on a balanced school schedule. So we just got out of school in June and we went right back at the end of July. Or at least that's what it
Wow.
felt like. I mean, it was the last of May and the first part of August, or maybe the end of somewhere along there. But grace and mercy. And that's with getting up on time. That's with packing my book bag. That's with falling back into the routine of being a student. Just give them a little grace and understand that they're in the process of learning all the things at the same time, and not just the academic part, but being real citizens, like being young adults or young children who are becoming young adults to become these adults that we expect to run our world. Give them a little grace.
Thank you. Carissa?
Definitely agree with the giving grace. I would also say communication. Make sure that you are in constant communication with your child's teacher. Ask questions because there may be things that you don't know, or you're trying to support your kid at home. How best can I do that? So just make sure that you're in constant communication and asking questions. And make sure you're attending those meetings, whatever the case may be, just being an involved, active parent.
Thank you. Sarah?
Yeah, just to sort of follow up, I think that this year is bringing a lot of different challenges, a little different, new, just in terms of, the funding cuts that are happening. I think that there is a lot of uncertainty right now, and so uncertainty breeds anxiety, and so there's a lot of anxiety, I think, in schools right now. Nobody's really certain. There are questions around job security, a lot of funding of specific programs, and certain parents are going to feel that. I think, I'm going to say it very specifically, when you think about the ESOL or ELL students, special education, we don't know how this is going to transpire. And I would say as a parent, being cognizant that not everything, that schools don't necessarily control everything. Like I always say sometimes things are done to us and not with us or for us. And so being cognizant of that, but also understanding that parents are the advocates, and oftentimes, getting politically involved, and really understanding what's happening and being able to advocate for students and for schools. Yeah, differently than I think in many years past.
Yeah, before Rabbi David speaks, I just wanted to emphasize something to each of those who are listening and to parents. The school is the centerpiece of your community. It has always been that. It will continue to be that. And in these times when it struggles, um, as Dr. Deering said, be an advocate for your school because it is the centerpiece of your community. Rabbi David?
I would offer two things. One is, um, as important as the school is, remember that you as a parent are your child's first and best teacher. And you have more tools at your disposal nowadays to do a better job of that. Um, so be a teacher as best you can be. Be a teacher. And the second thing I would offer is ask better questions. When you pick your kids up or when they get off the bus, change your frame of questioning. It's not what did you do today or what did you learn today or how did you do on that test today. It's things like did you ask any good questions today? What sparked your curiosity? What way you say wow today? Or what was really hard today? And then let your kids tell you about less about what they learned and more about how they learned.
And I happen to know that you have some tools up your sleeve that you use from time to time. You feel like sharing a few?
I don't know if I have tools about that. I mean, it's. I think that's so. What Tony's probably referring to is we're opening a new program called a Learning Lab. It's called the Sinai Learning Lab at my temple. It's a mixed age, multi-age program, and the very first skills that we're focused on are skills like teamwork, showing compassion, showing curiosity, having courage to take risks, things like that. We'll get to the ELA and the math and the science and all of that for sure. But we're focused on some of those other things first and questions more than anything. We want to teach our kids how to ask really, really great, deep, challenging, hard questions because we think that that's really what it's all about. That's what learning's all about.
And I'm going to be an advocate for the parents and say, why? Why are you going down this road? And the reason I'm asking this question is because this is a departure from traditional education. So there is a why. So will you share that why with us?
Well, I think the why for me is probably different than the why for the parents, and maybe even for the teachers. For me, the why is because, and I'm just going to speak bluntly, so other educators on the panel, please forgive me, but schools are just broken. Education is just broken. It's teaching kids the wrong things. It's not teaching them fundamental skills. It focuses on content and testing and outcomes rather than the growth process and the growth mindset. And a child's natural curiosity. It assumes that children all go through their learning at the same pace instead of giving them the time that they need. It assumes that children all express their learning in the same ways, which they don't. Some can write, some can sing, some can create art, there are 100 different languages through which children can express themselves. So what I'm trying to do, and I'm lucky that I have a place that allows me to sort of play with this and mess around with this, but what I'm trying to do is fix education. I think for some of my parents, honestly, I think for them, some of it is a small school where their child will get more individual attention. I think some of it is they don't buy into the idea that homework and testing at such a young age is more important than gym class and playground time. And I agree with them about that. So I think we all, lots of different people will have different reasons for wanting to do something alternative.
Dr. Deering.
So my comment or question or wondering actually is not as broad as sort of, the philosophy and thoughts around education, but I am wondering, at least in Maryland, the no cell phone policy is definitely being placed hard in the schools. And I'm going to be very curious to see how that sort of rolls out this year, and just in terms of like how students respond, how parents respond, how schools respond. And I don't even quite know where I stand on the topic. Like, should cell phones be banned? Should we sort of accept it and use it for the great things that they can provide and they can do? And is it a learning tool? Is it a distraction? So, I mean, that's just something that I know is on my mind this year as we sort of start the new school year.
Wow.
It's a great question.
Okay. Okay. Chantel?
We've started the school year, so and we've come out with this whole no. So it was one of those things, and this is just from the because you have to understand, I'm in my lane. So special education, we're always in our lane. It's funny to me, two things I wanted to share. I listened to Rabbi David talking about the hundreds of ways of communicating. That is what I do in my classroom every day because I get to work with the special kiddos who the assumption is, we can't rewrite arithmetic like everybody else. But my thing is everybody can learn and everybody can share the way they learn. It's just that I got to figure out how you are supposed to do it, or how your way is. What is your mode? So that I love, and I'm able to touch into that. So I enjoy the fact that I don't have to leave the public school system to do that. And I have the security of that contract and I can still do that. Um, and that's just personal. But the second thing is, as far as the cell phones are concerned, um, it's really a lot less pushback than you would think. Because ironically, I thought the same thing. I was like, kids are going to be on the phones and doing this and doing that. And parents are going to be like, I got to be able to be in contact with my kiddos. It's a lot less of that. You have parents at home supporting when you go to school, turn that cell phone off and put it in your book bag. And it's probably the first week was kind of weird, but after we've been in school, this is week 4. So right now you can look at a kid and they have it in their hand and they'll just hurry up and put it up or hurry up and turn it off. Or one of my kiddos came up today, Miss Jackson, he couldn't shut the phone down. And he was like, can you help me shut the phone down so I can put it in my book bag? And it's the beginning of the day. He was just following the rules. So I think it's going to be a lot less than what we assume. I think because we're so attached, we assume that that's the way it's going to be. But once they get to school, especially if their classrooms are engaging. If their classrooms are engaging and the lessons are engaging, they're not going to be worrying about what the cell phone is doing. So that's my little tidbit.
Okay. All
Can,
right.
can I just add, Chantal? So
Absolutely.
we're rolling out. I'm using iPads because some of the best tools for personalization are digital, because they can be responsive to the student in whoever's logged in. And it's challenging because I don't really want the kids on a tablet, but at the same time, these tools can be really powerful. So we're rolling out these iPads to use alongside the teachers and all of that. It is such a pain in the ass. Using managed iPads like through Apple School Manager, it is so. I don't know how huge schools do it. I've got like 25 kids, and I was just underwater all day today trying to push apps out to these iPads. It's so. Maybe what we need to do is hire some of the kids to take care of this, because they would all know how to do it.
What's so funny for me as you were saying that, Rabbi David, is that I had a special education classroom, and we had iPads in there, and but I only had 6 students, and so each student had their own iPad, and it worked fantastically for us because this is early 2010s, 11, 12. Um, and it was amazing. I had high school autistic students that were considered low functioning students. And the difference that the iPad made in that classroom in terms, Apple was way ahead of the curve in terms of the supported technologies that we were able to use in the classroom. And I was extremely happy with it. But if I had to do 25, I don't know. But it was just 6 that I had. So, um, yeah. Um, so speaking of that, do do you guys have any comments about assistive technology in general? Yes,
Can you
Chantel.
define what you mean by assistive technology?
Um, Students that are in special education classrooms sometimes have technology. And I'm going to show my bias in that I am first admitted Apple fanboy from the standpoint of Apple has, in my opinion, gone beyond the call of duty to provide assistive technology for students across the board. But when it comes to special education, I think that they really, really have embraced it in a mighty way. Now, I've been out of the class for over 10 years, so things may have changed, but I don't think so. I think that probably it's gotten even better. But Chantel can tell me.
Okay, so yeah. So since I am in that setting, so I don't think I could communicate with probably 10% of my kids if it were not for devices. So um I'm on the side with you. I'm like Tony, I lean heavily on the product, some type of augmentative device, whether it's the iPad, whether it's pictures for words or whatever, but whatever meets your need, because it may or may not be like I have a currently have a student who he has a disorder that is degenerative. So his speech functions, like the actual motors of his mouth and tongue and things, are going to deteriorate over time. So we work with an augmentative device, even though right now he can speak to me. However, he can speak to me slowly. Oh my God, slowly. But if there's a need, we just had his meeting today. If there's a need, I need him to be able to tell me quickly, I'm hurting, something like that. So we have pictures for words for that immediate need, because I need you to be able to hit the red now that something's for real. Stop, Miss Jackson. I need you to attend to my ailment and not, stand here and say, slow down, say the words slower so I can understand what you're saying. Nobody has time for that. There's a real problem because he has physical disorders and disabilities as well. So, as far as I'm concerned, any type of assistive technology is necessary. Also, when I work in a rural area, so getting on a bus and going somewhere to do museums and to go and do tours to expand these students' learning is very minimal to a certain degree, because we just talked about funding earlier. So sometimes there's no funding for our transportation, but we can go on a virtual tour. We can go on virtual field trips all over the world. We've been to all kinds of Taj Mahal, Paris. We just go on virtual tours. So that, in that sense, the device is imperative for, especially when you're talking about a county that is miles wide. So just transportation is expensive, let alone additional transportation for let's go to another city. And then the nearest city to us is Augusta, and there's very little. You go to the canal, and then they may go down the street to like the zoo or something, but that's about it. There's not like a plethora of things that we could go to like when we were in the Atlanta area, because you have more options. So that part of the technology is completely necessary, and it helps run my class, and it keeps those kids engaged, so they're not wanting to pull out their devices. They're happy to work on my device, and I can control it because I've become an Apple guru over the years. because I'm able to, lock down those devices so you can't move the screens and all of those nice things to be sure that we're using it for the educational purpose versus the fun and games purpose. And then we never play
Shoot,
games on our devices.
I
there are
should have
two
called you to
things.
set up my iPads.
So two things. You mentioned meeting, and I know that's an IEP. I want you to explain what an IEP is again for those people who may not know. And the other thing is when you do the virtual tours, how do you do that?
One, IEP meeting is individual educational plan for a student. Um, the team meets. Team includes your teacher, your special ed teacher, general education teacher, parents, admin, any other services. So it may be occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech. We also have someone there for feeding and swallowing, just for this kiddo in particular. So any of those people on your team that's necessary to support the student to matriculate through public education as best possible. Um, and the second question, we typically do, I'm a Google girl too, because Google gave me a lot of money when I was in Atlanta. I'm sorry. They gave me lots of money to put in my classroom. So I go through
That's
Google.
fantastic.
I, I, shameless plug. But Google, and then I also use Nearpod. Nearpod does great virtual tours that are already set up, easy to download. It's one program, so I don't have to worry about downloading 11 apps. I can use that one app to go, and I can lock down the student screens all in the one app
Fan-
without having to go back and try to, use all my magical tools.
Fantastic. Thank you. Um, Rabbi David, you are in deep thought. Do you feel like sharing what's on your mind?
No, I'm looking up Nearpod.
Oh,
It's
okay.
from it's from which is, and what's funny is that it's from Renaissance, which is, as I understand it, primarily a testing company, because they have the contract for all K through second grade testing in the state of Florida, and I'm battling with them right now about testing in my little school. So, but I'm looking up Nearpod and how to take these interactive trips. I remember, uh, was it Apple or Google? I don't remember. One of them had this when they released. I can't remember what it was. If it was Google Earth or something like that, where that allowed you to
Google.
to really be
That was
interactive. Yeah,
Google.
go ahead, Chantel.
It's
Google
Google.
Is it
Earth.
Google
Google?
Earth. You can
Yeah, where
you
you
can
can
use
really get.
Google Earth, and you can take your little camera wherever you are, and it'll give you a little virtual tour of the area you're in.
That's pretty cool.
All right, Carissa.
Just piggybacking off of Nearpod, that was one of my best friends when I was in the classroom. We used it often. It's a great way for getting kids like in a different way, maybe having them type their responses, maybe doing a poll. Um, different types of surveys. They can also respond so they can record themselves. And it's another way where you can give individualized support and feedback to students. And it's also one of those things as well, like you can control the pace that they may go. They may have to do something before they can move on. So I love Nearpod when I was in the classroom.
All right, fantastic. Okay. Next question is please talk about the infrastructure in your educational system, whether it is public or private. And by infrastructure, I mean in terms of the things that are in place that are um, the things that are a part of the regular system, you know, has anything changed really is the question in terms of the way in which school was. I know that Dr. Deering is doing something that is extremely different and is speaking to the shortage of teachers that we have, um, now. So could you speak to that?
Well, it's been a rocky year. Let's just say that it has been a very rocky year. I think that there was a lot of trepidation just in terms of where, where people sort of fell in terms of hiring international workers, across the field, including teachers. So the demand, I think, is still there. I think there was just concern in terms of how efficiently they would, be able to get here to the United States, who was going to be banned or not banned. And, there's always a lot of different questions around that. For me, it was just trying to support them in their relocation, making sure that they assimilate well. I think that oftentimes it's hard to be a teacher every day normally, and then you draw upon very experienced, highly professional, 15 plus years of experience teachers who come here and have to culturally, understand the differences and, student behaviors and communication with families. And oftentimes they are just overwhelmed, not only by learning a new curriculum, but also by having to just handle all of the newness of a very different culture. So a lot of that was supporting that. But to be honest, I mean, the shortfall of teachers still exists. It's not like it's going anywhere, and it's not like there's a line out the door of people who want the job. And universities and colleges are still seeing a declining enrollment. It's not a problem that's going to go away. And I do think that people need to, while there are a lot of programs, trying to get paraeducators to become teachers, I don't think that ever really never existed before. I think that there's maybe a more strategic push to get people to go into teaching. My concern, though, I'll be honest, my biggest concern is that we're focusing on the wrong things. And I think that, rather than address the issues, like why are teachers leaving? Why are teachers not coming into the field, right? What are we doing around retention? To me, retention is like the biggest thing. Like, why are we not heavily focused on retaining great teachers, making sure that they stay, rather than thinking about, all of the other, building, making it more attractive or bolstering alternative routes, or, all of the, because even alternative route programs historically, teachers only stay 3 to 5 years. That's the average lifespan. So again, me, I think we're looking at the wrong, trying to solve for the wrong problem.
Can you share your website?
Sure, it's ubeausa.com.
Okay. Um, thank you for sharing that. I think that based on you sort of alluded to, based on the current climate, we definitely know that getting international teachers to support teachers in the United States is rather difficult at this time, and I imagine that you had no idea that when you started on this journey that it was going to be as complicated as it currently is. Um, is there Do you have any suggestions for a way in which those who are listening might provide any support or help for what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I do think, I mean, we could do a whole show on international teacher hiring, but I'm not going to do that today. I mean, I think that, oh gosh, I could go on and on, really. I mean, I think there are some best practices, and then there are some really ethically unsound practices that are happening. And so I would say that it, it there's a lot of leveling that needs to be done across the board, right? In terms of ensuring that the opportunity for international teachers, the best international teachers who seek an opportunity to come to the United States, either for cultural awareness or for a work permit, that opportunity is open to everyone and not just, those who can afford or those who know the right people or, um, there are I've run across some exceptional teachers. I've had a pleasure of working, this year there's a teacher from South America who's unbelievable. Like I'm so excited that she's here and I can't wait to see what she does in the classroom. So the value add is very much there. I think that schools, districts, leaders, politicians, whoever they might be, right, just have to ensure that one, it's a positive promotion, and it's one in which it's very clear what the regulations should be to honor both the teachers who are coming and the districts and everything else that they're trying to aspire to. I think that the training across the board, and then the teachers, educators on this panel could probably speak to it better, but I think that some districts, some schools do professional development very well, and then others don't do it so well, right? And I think that's across the board, an area that can continuous improvement around professional development. But I'm hopeful. I think that I think well, I'm hopeful. I'll say that, although the funding cuts do concern me, just in terms of a lot of staffing getting cut, a lot of the support staff, not being there, and then classroom sizes getting larger, no administrative support. I mean, there are so many, ways that this can go, just depending on how districts respond.
I'm going to piggyback on one of the things that you said. Can each of you just share with me one thing that you think is important right now as far as professional development? Rabbi David?
Yeah, this is not going to be a satisfying answer. Um, we don't know what jobs are going to be here in 10 years. So it's really hard to train people and to future proof people for jobs. We don't know. So I think that some of the big tech companies are have been doing this for years, and in that when they look for talent, they don't worry about their degree. They worry about the skills that make them great workers in any field, really. Teamwork, collaboration, cooperation, compassion, deep thinking, all the stuff I was mentioning before. Um, Patience, persistence, grit, all that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that we can train people today, that we know they'll be able to use no matter what jobs are in the future. So it's that was my rabbinic way of saying that this is a really tricky question, given that we can't see into the future.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Chantel?
As far as I'm sorry, professional development is concerned, I think that we would be it would be beneficial to focus on cultural awareness, diversity, and also teaching teachers how to incorporate teaching executive functions across the content. I think if we teach students how to be good citizens, how to be organized, how to read and comprehend, how to follow some kind of task. I think we prepare them for whatever and wherever they go in the workforce, whether they're entrepreneurs, whether they're teachers, whether they're lawyers, doctors. If they can have those simple executive skills and just be good citizens, they'll be successful, because all of the other things will come if we teach all of those things across the content.
You initially kind of went against the grain with your initial statement. Do you want to talk a little bit more about why you said what you said?
Cultural awareness.
Yes.
Oh, which um, Because our classrooms do not look like what they typically look like 30 years ago. So we don't look like what we looked like 30 years ago. We're so mixed up and melted potted together that culturally, um, as far as what is ethnicity, all of it is all so different that I don't think if we don't respect one another's culture and give an effort to learn it, then we lose it and we fail the students we're trying to teach. So if you don't teach me how to teach it, then how am I equipped to give these students the best of the knowledge in order to move forward and to be, again, those good citizens?
Okay. Carissa?
I think one thing that we aren't focusing a lot on, I can just say within my district, we have that social emotional learning piece. And I don't think it's gotten the professional learning that it for the teachers for it to be effective that they need. I think teachers do it because for compliance, but they aren't really supporting the kids like they need to within talking about social and emotional learning because a lot of our kids, their home lives are not good. They have other things going on outside of the school building. We just want to drill instruction, but sometimes we need to take a step back and actually, kind of find out why students are acting the way they are in our classroom, why they're doing this or that. And so, like I said, I think it's done out of compliance, but more support needs to be there. Instructionally, I also think that we need to provide more support on. I see a lot of times going into buildings and observing classrooms, teachers just don't have that content knowledge. And I think we need to provide more support in our professional learning communities, our PLCs, where we're providing that as a district. We try to provide that district-wide instructional support for those teachers, because I think that's another one of their frustrations is when they're trying to learn the content and teach the students the content. So just having that extra time, we have a lot of like for our district, we have ELA standards that are being rolled out. So teachers are trying to learn these new standards and teach it to the kids. So I think that's another frustration that teachers have, and they definitely need some support there.
Okay. Rabbi David?
I, I I wanted to piggyback on that, and maybe this is more of a question than anything else. But so when we were creating this program that we're launching, we took the Florida State standards, of which there are hundreds. I'm not a classroom teacher. I don't know how any teacher could possibly keep track of all those standards. It's insane to me. So we took them and we whittled them down to I think 7 domains and then 10 learning goals within each domain that are multi-age. And then we broke those down into benchmarks that, it's scaffolded, but still the problem persisted of how can teachers accurately document what a child is learning and make sure it's lined up with all these different learning goals. And so what I did is I decided they shouldn't have to, because we have AI, and AI can do that for us. So we actually built a bespoke app that all the teacher does is use natural language. They open up the app and they say, oh my gosh, Jimmy is reading a book at grade level. They say that into their phone. And then the AI parses Jimmy, the student, what's the domain, what's the learning goal, what's a benchmark rather, what's the, and then so the teacher just says what they're doing and then gives a growth stage, just starting, getting there, or got it. That's it. And then they don't even have to think about the learning goals again. My limited experience is that teachers know what to teach. We don't need to the learning goals and standards, maybe put it in different language, more formal language, but teachers know what to teach. And we keep throwing bureaucracy and busy work at them, and instead of letting them just be with the kids and teach. So I think you asked about infrastructure. One of the things that I'm trying to leverage a little bit is using AI so that teachers can do more teaching and less paperwork.
Well, you know that this is an out of the box question. I mean, response that you're giving. So, uh, can you talk a little bit about the AI in particular? And we're not going to nerd out now. I just want to let everybody know I know I can nerd out, but we're not going to nerd out right now. But can you talk a little bit about the AI that you're using, and what was the the mechanism that you decided that that particular AI was able to do what you needed to do?
Well, I have no idea what AI I'm using. I built this app using a vibe coding tool, and quickly realized I didn't know what I was doing. So then hired a developer to finish it. So I
Okay.
believe he has my OpenAI API key. So I assume that we're using Open ChatGPT, but I honestly don't know. But I can show you. I mean, so essentially, what happens is this is the desktop view, but the teachers open up, they click on new observation, and then I have a test student in here so that we can see how this works. At least I think I do. Test read a book at grade level, auto parse, and then it sends it off to AI, and then it finds, oh yes, test student and ELA, foundational reading skills, and I can track print name, letters, and sounds, blend small words, and read and hear all the, and it's done. Like that's all they had to do is say what they saw, and then they can say they're just starting, they're getting there, or they've got it. And if you want to, you can upload evidence if you want to take a picture of the child, something like that. But again, the point here is my goal is to let teachers teach and not have to. And so that's why, of course, that's I got as soon as you start talking about standards, like my whatevers went up because I don't know from an administrator, it just seems like such a burden that teachers have to deal with, thinking about all those standards.
Do any of you have questions of Rabbi David and what he just shared? One, Chantel?
Not really a question, but you said when you started tinkering with it, you said you started through ChatGTP,
No, I actually started through vibe coding. In fact, this
vibe
evening I
coding.
started
Okay.
vibe coding another app that I need for something else. Yeah, I've
Okay.
gone down the rabbit hole of vibe coding using lovable.dev.
Okay. Okay.
I don't recommend it because you can
See, I'm
blow through
thinking of
tokens
like just
really
how
quickly
I
and
can, because you know how you can teach Chat GTP.
GPT, yeah,
You can teach Chat GTP kind of to your way of talking and how to write things,
sure.
whatever. I'm thinking more along the lines of selfishly how I could use that to monitor goals. Because if I put them in there that way for IEP purposes, if I put them in there that way, written with my language that's written in my goal, and then I talk to it, maybe it can line it all together and at least give me some baseline of somewhere to start to easily go grasp the information in order to create the progress reports and notes and such.
So I also that was a pain point for us also progress reporting. And so what I did is I built I this one I actually did vibe code just myself, and I'm hoping to use it is another app. And so this is for the teachers, for example. So if I go back and I put in test, I have a test student here, and then I've uploaded already all the learning goals and the domains, and the teachers, all they have to do is just check, what these are complete. So there's nothing to check here, but they just check them off. They can put some comments in here, and then down at the bottom, it will generate. It uses AI to generate a comment, and then what the way this is built is now watch it will fail. Oh no, it didn't fail. Look at that. Is that instead of actually sending something out to the parents, I can just send them this link, and that email is all built in. So it's easier for for the teachers because they can just click, 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 write in some comments, and then let AI generate the term comment, which they have complete control over. Let me be clear. The most important voice, it actually says this in the, when you get down to the bottom, it actually says, you can't see it now because it's locked. Let me see if I can unlock it. Yeah, you could write your own comment or let AI help. Everything is editable, and your voice matters most. Right? These tools cannot take the place of the teacher, but they can help a lot and just streamline work. So, yeah, you can absolutely do what you were just describing using AI. Absolutely.
Okay. Any any more comment, Dr. Deering? Okay.
I was just
Um,
in awe of it. That's all.
okay. And I guess I should mention that Rabbi David is going to be on YouTube tomorrow night. He has a show that is part of the Office Hours community. It's called The Rundown, and I am a participant in his show, and I kind of kind of forced my way on the panel, and I haven't I haven't relinquished that position on the panel, and I'm happy to be on there.
And you're
So
never
always
allowed to.
it's a great conversation, and it's always about technology, and we have a good time, and we sort of try to get through things and come up with some solutions, and at least provide thought-provoking ways in which to embrace technology. So it's called The
And
Rundown.
And by the way, tomorrow night, the guy who developed the app, the guy who I hired after hitting the limit of vibe coding, the guy that I hired to do the app for me, is our guest, and he's going to talk about the limits and the possibilities of no code coding. Is I think that's what they call it, right? You know, this chat
Wow.
GPT kind of lovable type of stuff. So he's going to talk about the future of software development. It's going to be should be really interesting.
We're going to go to a question from Clark Lopez Waterman. And guys, I have to apologize. We are near the end of our hour, and we have quite a few more questions. So we're going to have to figure out another way to get some of these done. We have a question from Clark Lopez Waterman, and the question is, um, where is EDU working right now? Shining lights. Where is EDU working right now? Shining lights. Anybody? Rabbi David?
I'll throw out a school movement that I have never seen, but I've read a lot about, and that is called Acton Academies. Acton Academies are um, they're sort of there are a bunch of schools now that are based around the idea that what kids need direct instruction about 2 hours a day. Like the rest of the day they should be doing other stuff. And so Acton Academy has sort of their their core time in the morning, and then the rest of the day is dedicated to real going out into the world and doing solving real problems and doing real work. And um, uh, and kids in the older grades, they get internships at real places and they really get paid. And it's sort of a radical democracy. The kids run everything, literally run everything, to an extent that makes me a little uncomfortable, to be perfectly honest. But it seems to be working. And On top of being radically different, affordability is one of their big pillars. They want to make sure that anyone who wants to can be a part of an Acton Academy. So that's something I would look into as a shining example of what education could be.
Thank you so much. Uh, are there any other comments before we go to our next to last question? Okay, we're going to go to the next to last question is, now that ChatGPT 5 is now available, um, now that it's now available, and there are some amazing things that it can do for free, would you encourage parents to install it? Anybody? Carissa, I saw you shaking your head.
I would encourage parents to install it. Just a situation over the weekend. Not my cousin, one of my goddaughters needed some help with some work, and it was she's in high school. She's senior, junior, senior. And so I was like, I don't necessarily remember how to do this. So I went to chat and I got the help myself to help her. So yeah, I definitely would suggest that they get it.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, yes, yes. Just remember that, like almost everything in life, what you put in is what you get out. So garbage in, garbage out. If you don't think about what you're asking for and give it as much information as you can, this is the new research. Research in the future is no longer going to be looking up books and learning about, it's going to be how to craft good questions, how to craft really good prompts. That's gonna be the heavy lifting, and um, I mean, I find that out every day because, like everyone, I'm lazy, and I put into ChatGPT the bare minimum, and I get a bare minimum answer, and I'm reminded on a continual basis that garbage in, garbage out. So definitely install it. Definitely set up an account so that it can have memory, and then learn how to ask good questions.
Chantel?
I think yes, I'm gonna piggyback on what Carissa was saying as far as learning how to do the task that aging parents don't really and support persons don't really have. I think it will give us a space to save us from teaching them the way we learned it, and they'll will actually be able to teach them the way the standards are since the AI has the most current information to pull from.
Okay. Dr. Deary?
And if I just want to quickly add that I think that these tools, we have to embrace them. I continue to tell teachers time is finite, right? And our kids now need to know more, learn more, and master more in a much shorter amount of time. And we're talking about Chat GPT, but there are other tools out there like Perplexity, which I also love because it is research based, but know the tools, know exactly what you're trying to use it for the best outcome as well.
Carissa?
Just to piggyback on the garbage in, garbage out, that is one thing Fulton County has been, I think, of the last year or so, it's been an initiative to push out. We use Copilot in our district. And so that is one of the things. I have a training coming up next week on basically how to craft um a blurb or whatever for whatever you're trying to get, because we are teaching them the more information details you get or put in, it'll give you the information that you want. So yes, that is very important. I think our district understands that, and it is something that we are pushing.
Okay. All right. So we're down to, you know, the last question normally is just speaking to the world. What do you want the world to know? So I'm gonna abbreviate it tonight. I want you just to give us your last words on things that you think, based on this conversation that we had tonight, that you think should be shared. And we're gonna start with Rabbi David.
Repeat the question one more time.
So, what are your last words for us tonight?
Not like last words in life, just tonight, right?
Just for us tonight, based on
All right.
what do you want? What do you want
All right.
the parents who are listening and educators that are
Be
listening?
curious, be connected, and be courageous.
Very, very good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Carissa?
a little along that to think outside the box, because we do have a lot of tools that we have access to that we can use. And like going back to what I said, always being in constant communication.
Dr. Deary.
I would say do not limit our young minds. There is brilliance in all of them, and it's just a matter of trying to figure out how they will shine.
Chantel.
I'm going to piggyback on Dr. Deary. I think that every student has brilliance to give, and it is our responsibility to pull out those, use our tools in our toolbox, as Carissa gave us, and let them shine and just extend them grace. I just believe if we communicate and provide a little grace, we'll all just be better people, better learners.
I agree with that. And I think that it's impossible for us to be in this particular time frame without having to wrestle with some of the things that Rabbi David mentioned in terms of, and I'm just going to summarize it by saying character, ethics, those things that are important for us to make a part of the learning experience. And we're going to say thank you all so much for being here with me tonight. We did not get through all of the questions, and so that means that hopefully you all can come back for another conversation, maybe in September or October. Thank you all again so much. We want to thank our panelists for being with us today. And I want to first thank, I normally wait until the end to talk about this, but I think I need to say it now just to make sure that it gets on this conversation. Our producer is working by himself tonight. Cladlock Lopez Waterman is handling everything by himself tonight, and he's done an excellent job. And so I want to make sure that I say that. Conversation with Tony Mobley is produced by valued visual professionals who meet daily on Office Hours Global, hosted by Alex Lindsay. Our conversation uses the software Mimo Live, which is a part of the Boinks software company based in Germany. If you have time, we ask that you go back and look at the 100 plus, near 200 plus conversations that we have. We ask that you go back and look at them, and we think that you might find something that you like and hopefully is helpful to you. We want to thank the panelists for being a part of this conversation today and for doing the work that they do and for being the people who you are. Next week, we're going to have Miss Liberty White, who is an AI specialist, a creator, a podcaster. There is so many different things that she is doing, and we want to talk to her about her experience in France in working on AI over there. So we're looking forward to having Liberty next week. Conversation with Tony Mobley is a place where we have engaging conversations with real people. We ask that you, on YouTube, please like Conversation with Tony Mobley. We're trying to grow our subscribers. But if you don't want to be a subscriber, just like it. We want to say thank you all so much again for participating in this conversation, because if you're listening, you are participating in this conversation. Conversation with TonyMobley.com is our website. We are seeking people to support us as a part of the infrastructure of producing the conversation. And we're also looking for people to donate monetarily to Conversation with Tony Mobley. You can find a place to do that on Conversations with Tony Mobley. We are always wanting to get better for you. Thank you so much. Take care. God bless. Good night.
Happy